Good evening, everyone. This is Son from the UK. I'm a friend of Big Boss. Big Boss is obviously Dave. You all call him Dave. I call him Big Boss. I've known him for many years. We met through Twitter. Great guy, great mentor, great friend. I've learned a lot from Big Boss. I really have. I'm so happy and proud of him for doing this podcast, E.I.T.H.R. I really am. I know it's something he was talking about doing for a long time, and he's finally done it. But that's what I love about Big Boss. Whenever he says he's going to do something, he will do it. He's less talk and more action, so I'm really happy for him, and I'm really proud of him as well. It's very inspiring. I'm enjoying listening to the podcast as and when I can. I find it educational and I find it entertaining. It's just brilliant. It's such a great podcast to listen to. And I hope that everybody else who's listening to the podcast is also enjoying it. If you haven't listened to the podcast yet, I certainly do encourage you to start listening to it. You won't be disappointed. Because like I say, it's entertaining and it's also educational, because that's what you need. It's a good balance, which is what Big Boss has always been like. He's all about balance. So he's not always serious, but he's not always a joker. He just does both brilliantly. And he knows how to fuse them together as well. He knows sometimes you can make a bit of a joke about a situation and other times you can't. I just think he's brilliant at what he does, and I'm really happy for him, and I'm really excited to see how far this podcast will go. Good luck, Big Boss, and I certainly hope that all your viewers enjoy the show as much as I'm doing so.
So, let's start with the E.I.T.H.R.
What up, ladies and gentlemen? It's D-Cal here, hosting the E.I.T.H.R podcast from the GNS HQ here in Northern California, episode number 108. Listen, 916-282-9372. That is the number, 916-282-9372. That's the number to the podcast. So if you want to shoot me a phone call, or if you want to go ahead and shoot a text message about something you think we should be discussing on the podcast, go right ahead. You can also download the Spreaker app, S-P-R-E-A-K-E-R, and you can chat live with me here while I'm doing the podcast as well. So to those of you who are new, the E.I.T.H.R podcast is the elephant in the room where we talk about issues and topics and concerns that you normally would not be able to have with your friends or your peers or your family members, because let's face it, people suck. And they're not always going to agree with you, and that's okay. But if you could at least have a conversation to where your perspective is seen, whether they agree with it or not, that's a start. So this platform is designed to be that launching pad to where we talk about things that not everyone is brave enough to talk about. And sometimes we talk about some silly shit. But we also like to do inspirational, motivational things. So we start this podcast off with a shout out. And I want to give a shout out to every soul out there who's putting whatever effort they got into making it to the end of this week. Congratulations. You did it. I want to congratulate you on making it through another week here in 2023. We lost an icon yesterday, Tina Turner. So not everyone was able to make it to today. So congratulations on you for making it. I also want to give a shout out to Sarah. She was a guest on the podcast not too long ago, and there's a business endeavor that she's chomping at the bit to start to create. And one thing I've learned that with this, as E.I.T.R would say, this pandemic, if this pandemic didn't wake up the hustler within you, it never was in you. So we're going to break news on what she's got in the near future once I get the permission from her to do so. But keep in mind that things are moving out this way. Hopefully they're moving in the right direction for you guys as well. We also do inspirational, motivational, and you can follow us on social media at Twitter and Instagram, which is the E.I.T.H.R, T-H-E-I-T-H-R, and you can see some of our inspirational, motivational posts there as well. And so this one is going to be satisfy your soul, not society. Listen, shout out to my homegirl Jay Vega out there in South Oregon. Love you, fucker. Hope all is well with you, with Roman, with Silver, with Ass Face, with everything that's going on out there with you. Hope all is well. Shout out to Mojo Jojo and her modeling career. You can follow her on TikTok at Miss Mojo6, MISSMOJO and the number 6. So satisfying your soul in that society, man, is you can't make everybody happy. And if you go ahead and try to make people happy, you're going to be one miserable bastard. Simple as that. Because people are fickle, man. That scale is never going to be balanced. I mean, if you go left, people say you should have went right. If you went right, people will tell you should have went left. If you don't make a move, people will tell you that you should make a decision and don't stand still and be proactive and be productive. And if you move forward, they tell you should have went left or right. So you're not going to please everybody. So as long as you're pleasing yourself within your soul internally, and harm to anyone is not a cost or a payment that has to be made, you're good, man. Carmelo Anthony, NBA player out of Syracuse. He was drafted in 2003. He was the number 2 pick after LeBron James. LeBron James. Shout out to the Lakers. I'm sure you guys got the cleanest locker room in all the NBA, especially since you got swept. Anyway, Carmelo Anthony retired, and he looks back at his legacy of not having to win a championship, but he won at life, bro. Like, my man won at life. I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars, played the sport that he loved the most. That's okay. He won. And so as long as his soul is content with that, you don't have anyone outside of that to please. It's the E.I.T.H.R podcast. We're going to get into this topic of, there's a woman on OnlyFans who is selling her saliva. You heard that right. And parents, would you let your child do this in public? It's the E.I.T.H.R podcast. We'll be right back.
Crush all the struggles and pressures that get in your way, big or small, minor or major. We all are fighting demons that others do not know about. But it's how you handle it that makes it look easy. Shop at Mile.today. Again, Mile, MILE.today. Mile.today.
Dazzled Nails by Ari, and I'm from Sacramento, California, and I'm listening to Deep Cow on the E.I.T.H.R podcast. Hey!
The E.I.T.H.R podcast, 916-282-9372. That's the phone number you can call if you want to have a conversation, or you can go ahead and send me a text message about anything you would like for me to talk about on the podcast. You can also download the Spreaker app so you can chat with me while I'm on a podcast, or any of the previous episodes that we have, you can go ahead and download, subscribe, and communicate with me there. Appreciate that. Again, social media, Instagram and Twitter, really simple, the E.I.T.H.R. E.I.T.H.R. The elephant in the room. Elephants are really intelligent animals, man. There was a video that I saw how an elephant had passed away. I think I'm amazed at what happened, but I'm not amazed at the method. Where an elephant had passed away, and scientists played a recording of the deceased elephant, and you see the herd of elephants searching for that elephant in particular that they were playing. The daughter of that elephant went frantic looking for her mother, and even though it was an amazing, man, that's crazy how the sound they recognized, they went searching for it. It's also kind of cruel, man, because it's imagine a relative or a close friend of somebody passing away, and someone pushed their ass on a PA system. You really think that they're there when you heard or you read that they passed away. You think they hear because no one sounds like them, and they play something that only they would say around to their group. And like I said, it's an amazing thing that elephants have when it comes to intelligence. But fuck, humans, we could be cruel in the name of science, right? That's just wild. So I picked elephants because of the intelligence. I picked elephants because they're the true rulers of the jungle. They rule the land. And being from Oakland, California, my baseball team is the A's. What's their mascot? So, and yes, anybody who knows the situation about the Athletics in Oakland moving to Vegas, it's not something that's cute or something that is fun to think about. But hey, man, my city, they lose in sports, and it's a business decision. You ain't gotta agree with the business, but it is what it is. So, enough of that. I just went on a tangent about elephants. Had nothing to do with the hell I'm going to talk about right now. There's a OnlyFans model that I read about who is selling her saliva. No. And the price ranges, what was it, like a couple $100? Like a couple. Come on, bruh. I don't want to hear shit about anybody out there not having any ideas to make money. I remember reading the article of an OnlyFans model. She was in the market of selling used toilet paper. Yep. That. You heard me right. There was another woman. I'm sure there were men too. I'm guessing. But there was a woman who would toot in a jar and sell that. The things men will buy, though, because I'm having to believe like this is predominantly men who is her main clientele. Has to be. Well, no, it doesn't have to be. I'm being tongue in cheek when I say that. It could be anybody. It could be anybody today's world. But for real, like, are you eating something like a certain candy or food? Is it morning bread? Is it like fuck? Okay, yeah, but get your money, girl. I mean, hey, do what you do. But when you thinking outside the box for real, man. Like that's thinking outside the box for real. And listen, what's the weirdest thing you've ever purchased or you haven't bought? And you obviously you ain't got to share it here, but just what is the weirdest, most oddest thing that you have purchased yourself or known for someone to have purchased? I saw an article where was it eBay or Amazon? A jar, bro. A jar full of toenails. This I don't endorse this. I don't get paid for this. Check out this website called This Is Why I'm Broke. I believe that's what it is. ThisIsWhyI'mBroke.com. Yo, there is some things on there that you wouldn't even believe people are not just buying but selling, and the prices for them. That's kind of wild to me. It really is. It's kind of wild. But we live in a world where, hey, if you can dream it, you can do it. And so, mama out there selling spit, and people are buying it. What are they doing with it? Lord, I don't want to know. But just understand that if she can hock something and put it in and then mail it, and somebody buys it because someone got excited over it, girl, do what you do. Son, do what you do. Speaking of do what you do, parents. I understand times is short for a lot of us, and kid at the park, you gotta work, probably doing work for your phone while your kid's playing. You kind of get them out the house. It gives you a break for them to burn out some energy. It gives them an opportunity to meet some friends, socialize and all that funness. I 1,000,000% get it. I get it. Kid has to go to the bathroom. This is probably easier for boys than it is for girls, right? But I can't say that no more. This is probably easier for those who identify with the body part formerly known as the penis. I don't know. When I was younger, we had to go to the bathroom. You pick a bush, you pick a tree, you pick some place behind a building where someone wasn't looking, where there was nobody to go, and you stood there and you drained the main vein, right? Wherever you may be, you let your water run free. That's what I was told when I was younger. Okay, cool. So what happens? Whatever. I'm sure, little girls go cop a squat someplace where no one's watching. Fine. Privacy. What do you do when you gotta drop deuce, though? You obviously take your kid into the bathroom at the park, right? Let them do their duty in the bathroom. Depending on how old the child is, you might have to assist them, or you watch them as they go to the bathroom, or you might be close by in case there's something weird going on. But would you let them do their business, right? Not in the area of the park where other kids are playing necessarily, but outside. Not in the bathroom, but by the tree. Outside at a park. Don't make that face at me. I'm just asking a simple question. The reason I'm asking that question because a couple of days ago there was a article on this becoming something. Listen, all because you and I don't see this, we don't see this on a regular basis, does not mean that it does not happen on a regular basis. It just doesn't happen when we are at the park. But this is happening at the park. I'm going to read you this inserts from his article. It says, I keep seeing kids pooping outside. What in the world is going on? Why are parents encouraging this behavior? This is on the 23rd. So, dear care and feeding. Okay. I guess it's a parenting column for this particular blog. I am not a parent, but I do spend a lot of time in my neighborhood parks walking my dog. And over the past few years, I have observed a baffling and disgusting trend that I love an explanation for. Parents and caregivers of small children seem to bring little portable toilet bowls for their children to use. They set them up under trees within feet of playgrounds and picnic areas for these kids to poop and pee in. The park I go to has a public restroom that are actually quite clean and regularly stock soap and paper towels and hot water from the sinks. I know a lot of parks don't have those amenities. Why in the world is encouraging the child to defecate in front of everyone in the park in a plastic baggie under a tree, preferable to a bathroom? These kids seem to just finish their business and run back to the play on the playground, running their germy toilet hands over other kids and the equipment, eating ice cream and candy from the nearby ice cream truck. There is nary a second thought for hand washing or cleanliness. What is happening? When did this become a thing? Who is championing this? Why would a parent want to empty a baggie of their child's excrement rather than take them to a restroom? Why are they doing this in view of picnic areas where people want to eat? Please explain. Now, before I dive into that, here on the E.I.T.H.R podcast, we're going to give a response to somebody. It says, Dear enough. I get it. You're grossed out by children excreting waste nearby. From my experience, this has always been a thing, but it is even more so during COVID lockdown time because most public restrooms were closed. If a kid has to go, then a parent needs to be prepared at all times. Now that we're back in some semblance of normalcy, many parents are opting for the portable potty, and although my kids are well past the age of using that kind of device, I don't have a problem with others doing it. It seems like the people who take issue with this are the same ones who have problems with mom breastfeeding in public. They'll clutch their pearls and ask, why can't they feed their baby in the restroom or in the car? And my response is always, why are you even looking in the first place? Right, come on. Not to sound insensitive, but parents aren't worried about making strangers like you feel comfortable. They're doing whatever it takes to get through each day with their sanity intact. If you don't like it, don't look. It's as simple as that. Well, here's another one. My mother-in-law and I don't have the best relationship ever since my child was born. And now I'm expecting a second. She was immediately overwhelming me as a new mom and often ignored me when I asked for specific actions with my new child. I felt invisible to her and not worthy of her respect because she has raised 3 kids. I asked my husband for help with setting boundaries with his mother, but he is nervous to stand up to her, so nothing changed. It finally came to a head a few months ago, and she screamed at me and claimed I was calling her a bad grandma. She didn't listen to anything I had to say and just played the victim. I'm not saying I was perfect in our relationship. I became cold and reductive to down chatting. Okay. So here is all right. Here's the thing. When it comes to listen, your kid has to go, your kid has to go. That's part of it. That it is what it is. I understand that. When COVID was, you had to improvise. You had to think outside the box. I get that. There should be a certain decorum of the bathroom being used in a public facility or in a public area or in a common public area. Yes. If you are, okay, 916-282-9372. You guys can go ahead and text me anything you think in response to this, or you can go ahead and chat with the Spreaker app in regards to this, or you can go to the E.I.T.H.R on Twitter and comment on this as well. If you are with friends or family, and it's predominantly that's the area that this is taking place, and there's a common understanding that this is something that is done and is commonly accepted. Okay. This is kind of one of those things where I would say this is no new friends, right? No new friends. If you're at a park and it's the parents and it's the kids and you're having a family picnic, right? And there's people existing already at the park. My opinion, the bathroom is functioning. The bathroom is sanitary. The bathroom is close. Why don't you take your child to the bathroom? Why? Why not? Out of respect for everyone else who probably takes their kid to the bathroom. This isn't one of those, you're in your backyard, your bathroom's too far, and you're having a hard time potty training. This is one of those, it's an uncommon respect thing, in my opinion, the way I see it. I think, feel, and believe, if I were at a park and I was having a picnic, or I was sitting there reading a book, or I was sitting there working on a project, and you come to the table that's near me, and you plop one of those yellow potty things down, and I'm sorry, but judgment shall be bestowed upon you. Because I'm going to look at you, I'm going to look at the baby, and I'm going to look at you, and I'm going to look at the bathroom, and I'm going to look at you, and I'm going to stare. That's me. Because the bathroom's working. Dad take the son, or mom take the daughter, or someone take someone to the bathroom. If that bathroom in there is ungodly dirty, filthy, disgusting, gross, repulsive, you have your backup plan because you brought it with you in the bathroom. Because people have a tendency to think, I do this all the time. That gives you the pass to do this all the time anywhere you're at. And as much as you do this all the time, and so it's no big deal to you, we should just get accustomed to it. I don't see this all the time. So I'm accustomed to not seeing it. And I'm going to get what I want to. So now you got two strong positions bumping heads or bumping asses or whatever the case may possibly be. Again, I feel if you are with a birthday party and it's a family and you guys are out and about and you have your kids with you and you got the whole section of the park, I get it. 100% I get it. Makes all the sense in the world. But what I don't understand is how It's how people will honestly, truly, really throw a tissy fit for something like this. Again, I understand the convenience of it. It makes all the sense in the world when you don't have to think about it. However, I think one of the issues with our world right now is nobody's thinking. That's a problem, in my opinion. Nobody's thinking. And because nobody is thinking, we fall into this almost like nobody cares anymore. You know what I mean? Like nobody, it is what it is. Like we're so apathetic, we're so numb, we're desensitized from anything. And I feel that is part of the problem with the world we're in today. Because we see so much so often, we're numb to it. But because we get numb to it, there's also that internal pressure that builds up, I feel, and creates a tension and creates a frustration and creates an anxiety that people don't know how to identify because we no longer know how to identify. And it causes a problem. 2, in addition to this, excuse me, what are you teaching the kid? Right? That is okay. In 10 years, you possibly have a generation of children who believe it's okay to just go to the bathroom right here. Well, when I was young, we couldn't make it to the bathroom because it was too far. I really had to go, and I don't want to hold it. I just want to get it out and come back, right? Today, if a person does that, you get arrested for indecent exposure, right? In 10 years, if this is to become a trend, I wonder if that law would change. Because you now have people who are becoming accustomed to going to the bathroom while they're in public. Right? I'm not going to say they're not going to see any shame in it, but they're definitely not going to see anything wrong with it. So then what do you do? Is that going to be the new way now? Is it one of those things where, and again, it's so funny because people would judge a city like San Francisco, right? Or parts of Los Angeles, or parts of Oregon, because of the homeless defecating and urinating on the sidewalk and in public places, and it's corroding and decaying the city and causing people to want to relocate. And cool. But now you have parents who are teaching their children, if you can't hold it, just go right here. And the fact that these parents are having a child, like, are you wiping the baby? Or are you just worried about, we'll just bathe them later? They're not washing and wiping hands? So now you have this 3-year-old who is shitty, putting their pull-ups back on, getting on the swing and the slide. Okay, so now we have a kid with a shitty pull-up playing in the tambark. Oh boy. Next thing you know, kids are kids. They don't think. They think everything is funny. So when you're young, you do dumb stuff because you're young. You don't know any better. You think it's cute. So then here comes your kid with your hand full of tambark, realizing, no, it's not. No, it ain't. last episode I said in motivational inspirational was it lazy? Gosh, what was it that I said last time? It was because this kind of fits the bill. Excuses make today easy but tomorrow hard. Discipline makes today hard but tomorrow easy. Yes, it's convenient for you to let your kid potty right here by the tree because that's where you have your lawn bench and you're listening to the E.I.T.H.R podcast with D.Cal and you're zoning out and being educated and mesmerized by my intellect and sweet sounding vernacular, vocabular skills right now and all that fun shit. Cool. But instead of taking them to the bathroom and wiping and freshening and dealing, you now gotta take this kid who, oh God, bruh. When you get home and stuff starts, anyway, so, what say you on that topic? Because I'm for it in circumstances, right? In circumstances, because I'm too much of a consider around me type of person, right? I'm too much of how is this going to affect the park versus fuck y'all, but that's me and how I was raised and my mindset. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to want to just let folks kiss my ass because of whatever. I have to be, well, I don't have to be, but I am considerate. And I expect other people to, you know, be considerate as well because, well, I mean, shouldn't we be? That's kind of like the whole MO of society, right? And so that's me. Like I said, if it's a family function or something like that, man, you know, you should be good on that. Shouldn't be that big of a deal. Next topic I want to talk about here at the E.I.T.H.R podcast is listen to the radio. I've heard a lot of commercials discussing the effects of, I don't remember the term they used, and I was looking for it before I got on, but childhood traumas, right? And how they affect people, children, right? And children shouldn't have to go through certain traumas and, you know, certain levels of like PTSD. And PTSD just necessarily isn't for military or combat or any type of war scenario. It's a traumatic effect that happens to people. And so they have these I don't want to say these opportunities for parents, you know, and kids to, you know, talk these things out, which is a beautiful thing because trauma is something that we all go through to a degree. And I think dealing with trauma at an earlier age can have a huge impact on improving your life when you get to a later age. And identifying these traumas and recognizing these traumas and processing these traumas so you're able to address these traumas and moving forward. It irritated me to a degree that they do this now, right? Because, listen, growing up in, you know, West Oakland, California, I was experiencing traumas. And I remember, you know, moving to Brookfield Village in East Oakland and, you know, having relatives in Sobrani Park in East Oakland, and trauma, right? There's trauma in every aspect of life for somebody. Like I said, there's different levels of it, and I'm loving the fact that we're addressing it now in today's world, especially with social media and just the openness of being able to deal with it. And for me, to this day, I still get triggered by certain traumas. As a matter of fact, I was talking to, like I said, Sarah, Delivering with a Purpose, and I was expressing to her some of the trauma that I have when it comes to, business and doing work and things like that. I've to Fuzz, she understands a good chunk of the trauma that I've experienced because I've shared it with her over, 20 years of knowing. The stripper, she understands some of the trauma that I go through because of, our relationship and engagement. And I have a buddy who I recognize as a therapist, and I called him up and said, listen, man, how do you deal with this particular issue that I had? And my man went into this whole, listen, I deal with it too. I'm human. I ain't perfect. I get tested. But I do exactly what you're trying to do, which is acknowledge, recognize it. He said, here's what I do. He's like, when I'm about to engage in a conflict with somebody, the first thing I do is think about, okay, you already won the fight. Perfect. So now there's no need to get into the fight because you already won it. Now let's look at a different method. Let's look at a different avenue of resolving this issue. And I'm thinking to myself, that's okay. You kind of see the end and the beginning, and now you take a different route. He's like, yeah. He's like, why take this route when you already know the exit? Okay, cool. Let's avoid traffic. Let's avoid all that. Let's do this instead. I'm like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. So I think for people, if you are able to think about something that traumatized you as a child, and one thing about people when it comes to like shit like this, we collectively, we love to compete with our bullshit, right? We love to make we will exaggerate, we will embellish, we will do everything to make it sound so dramatic because we love pity parties. People do, right? So you got to acknowledge that and be honest and true with yourself with the trauma that you experience. It may even possibly be more than two things that trigger you, right? You can't have peace without if you're constantly at war within, right? So you must understand, where does it stem from? Like, I completely understand I have abandonment issues from my childhood. I acknowledge that. I understand that I have abandonment issues that were re-triggered with my daughter's mother. Trust issues that were re-triggered with that. I have anxieties from when we were building what I thought a future to here we are. Not. There are expectations that you have of a family. So when these things happen to me, and it changed the definition of what a family is supposed to be, trauma. Because the one safe haven I thought was going to be there wasn't. So that triggered a lot of my anxiety when it comes to relationships. It triggers a lot of my anxiety when it comes to dealing with people, because by nature, as a man, we're fixers, right? Men, we want to fix all the problems. We want to be the hero, the knight shining armor on a horse coming to save the town from, fill in the blank. So we want to make sure that we fix any problem that's presented to us. That's kind of just our nature, right? So when I'm creating, different opportunities in different businesses, under the GNS Inc. umbrella, I also think of who has nothing going on or who needs something in addition to. And I'm always I want to start from scratch, like from the rip, from the dribble, out the gate. If we could get this going from 0 and work it to 100, your problems will be solved, right? So I'm that guy. Call me when you guys have an idea on paper. I want to rock with you from that. That's me, because I understand the entry level, the ground level grind of something, but I also understand the satisfaction of when you finally make it to the top of the mountain. What did Lil Wayne say? You at the top when only heaven's right above you, right? So that's me. So when I give people the opportunity to do a project with me or to work on something with me, and they come up with excuses of why they can't do it, after weeks and weeks and months of them complaining about it. Granted, it may not be something that you want to do. I understand that. But what I also have learned was sometimes by doing the thing that you don't want to do, that can actually be your path to what it is that you're actually seeking. You just got to do something, right? And some cases you don't want to do it because it's something completely different. Well, good, because what you want to do is something that has led you to where you are right now. So, definition of insanity, right? So when people talk the walk, I'm like, okay, well, let's go. Now let's walk that talk. Let's actually do what you say. Then nobody shows up. That's a trauma, because I didn't have that luxury of just saying it and then dipping when I went through with certain things to understand why this is, why this isn't. So I can't fathom and comprehend how people will speak it, but then are too afraid to actually put their money where their mouth is. My whole thing is, okay, they want to shut the fuck up. If you're not going to be about what you're talking, don't talk it. Don't, because someone's going to approach you and pull your card and see if you're really about it. And the most embarrassing thing is to realize you're not. I can understand if you realize that from the gate and you openly say, I'm not really about this. I don't really want to do this. I'm cool. But to lead someone to believe that you are interested in something, like any other relationship, that's foul. So that's where my trauma comes in and the trust issue comes in, because I'm trying to give you exactly what it is you say that you want, or at least a method towards it. Why aren't you doing anything? You were juiced in the beginning. Oh, it was the first day of school and now you got cold feet. Okay, cool, whatever. Trauma, I have a trust issue with trauma because how many of you have ever shared something intimate or something secretive and that got used against you? Not because you hurt somebody, but it got used against you because that person did you dirty, and their conscience was eating them alive. So they had to say something to provoke you to react a certain way. that would justify them to do what they were planning on doing anyway. Does that make sense? Right? When a guy cheats on you and you approach him about the cheating on you, then he throws in your face a secret of yours. Because he's hoping by throwing this in your face, you're going to react in a certain way. You're going to react in a certain way that's going to cause for him to say, this is why I can't be with you. And that's his reason to be out. Like I need to project something for you to react to something so that way I can use this in my back pocket. I need an out. And I need to provoke you to give me an out. There's a trust issue there. Right? There's a trust issue with people who claim they never had, but when you provide what they say they never had, they don't know how to appreciate. So they go back to self-sabotaging, because that's kind of all they know, which is a trauma in itself, right? They self-sabotage because they don't believe that they're worthy of what's before them, which is something that they've been asking for, right? That's a whole different type of pain and torture, right? Is when you're so accustomed to trauma, you fight peace. Ain't that a bitch? So, again, I'm happy that they have this going on for children and for young adults to be able to deal with these things at an early stage. That is dope. It honestly, truly, really, really is. And I'm happy that that is something that's going on in today's world, and it's becoming normal in certain communities. Here's my biggest gripe with all that. And this is kind of going to get uncomfortable for some people, but it's the ethers, what we do. I noticed that when it comes to poor neighborhoods, lower class neighborhoods, more common areas, a lot of the traumas that they face, whether it's family, whether it's education, whether it's financial, social, legal, name it. Whenever they face it, no one tends to give a shit but the legal system, right? Because they know that's how you're going to act out, right? Or you're going to be submissive and obedient and do what we tell you to do anyway. But when the upper class gets trauma, similar to, clearly not on the same level, but you can't really measure a person's traumatic response to a traumatic situation. You can kind of gauge their tolerance, in my opinion. But when it happens to them, all these resources and all these outlets are available. And I feel that there's a class of individuals who see things going on in the hood. They see things going on in the PJs. They see things going on in the beatdowns, in the tenderloins, in the bottoms. They see it. They laugh, they poke, they mock fun of you. They ridicule you, they criticize you. And then one day, they look in the mirror, or they look to their left, or they look to their right, and they see the exact same thing happening in their backyard. The first thing they want to do is nothing. They're silent. Because the realization is, oh, we're doing the same thing. But because they're upper class than you, they reclassify it. They give it a different diagnosis. They give it a different title. They give it a different label. So psychologically, they don't feel the same as the class, air quotes, for those who can't see me. That's below them, right? But they go through the same shit we are. But you can't say I'm just like them when you got through making fun of them, judging them, mocking them, poking at them. You can't now say, oh, me too, all of a sudden. Because now they're going to look at you like, man, for real? All that time you were doing this, that, the third to us, you're going through it too? They can't allow, never let them see you sweat, right? So that's kind of what's going on, in my opinion, with situations like this. Because, like I said, you take cities like San Francisco, you take parts, cities like Los Angeles, you take parts of Portland, Oregon, you take parts of, Florida, parts of New York, and you see the homeless camps and all this other fun stuff. Okay. Yet, because of COVID-19, as I read earlier in the insert from earlier in the podcast, you allow your kids to do this. Again, children do things out of habit because it's what they know. So, how are we really getting to a situation where parents are able to educate their kid on why you can now, but this is why you can't later? In most cases, the same person who said you've seen the kind of person that will complain when you see somebody breastfeeding, in my opinion, you perceive to be the same exact person that when your kid becomes 5, 6, 7, 8 years old and they want to shit at the table, you'll let them do it because you just don't want to hear their mouth and you're tired of hearing them complain all day because you had to work. Right? Again, earlier I said we're going to get to a situation in the next 10 years that people may be so free and accustomed to going when they need to go because they don't want to hold it. What happens when they want to express themselves at a park with a human bag? Is that okay? So what's the difference between someone in El Dorado Hills or at Granite Bay at a park in the cuts, pooping at a picnic table in a bag, and they tie it up and dispose it? Is it because you're disposing of it? Is it because you're putting it in a scented bag and disposing of that biohazard that makes you better than the homeless man who's pooping on the sidewalk? Because you're cleaning yours up, he isn't. Is that the reason why? When it comes to the trauma, why are there not as many counselors being given to children who grow up in high crime, high violence, low income communities? Isn't that traumatic? Most kids don't know they're poor. Like I was talking to my sister last week when I went to visit her, because I asked her, can you tell me what it was like, because we're like a decade and a half apart in age. So I was like, what was it like growing up, like in the 70s? Like, what was it, and she would kind of let me know how Oakland used to be in the day before we know it as now, right? So it was kind of one of those things where it's not how it used to be. And of course, nothing is, right? Nothing's going to be the same what it was. But when we get to a certain age, man, I just think kids in those type of neighborhoods should be given some type of some assistance. Like I said, she told me growing up, they didn't know, quote unquote, they were poor. They had no idea. And I was like, you probably didn't, quote unquote, know you were poor until you came around other kids who had the things you saw on television, and it kind of made you like, how come we don't have that? She was like, yeah. It wasn't until we seen other people with it that we were asking, why don't we? Because this is the only world they knew. So a lot of kids grew up in these neighborhoods. They don't understand. They have trauma. I remember asking my homeboy, like I said, I see him as a therapist, and I said, listen, I have an issue, and anyone who knows me knows this. I loathe being stared at. But I think I said this on a couple episodes where if you're looking because you think you recognize me, if you're looking because you think you see me someplace, or you're trying to, I could understand that. But I tend to use my peripheral a lot when I'm driving or just out and about. And it comes from security background and all this other fun stuff, right? So when I get the feeling, ladies, you know this, when eyes are all over you, right? I'll look and see somebody just staring. And there's that stare like, motherfucker, I wish you'd say something. Like it's one of those damn near confrontation. Podcast right now, you have things that trigger you. You got shit that happens by people that just irk you, right? Someone merging over without using a blinker. And I'm not talking about the lane merges so you know they're getting over because the lane merges. No, I'm talking about somebody who driving behind you, tailgating you, they get over and they cut you off. Or somebody who's in the next lane and they just cut you off without using a signal. It's almost like they don't even turn their head to see how close your front fender is to their rear bumper. Is it jaywalkers, people who just walk across the street because they think, they feel, they believe you can't hit me because I'm a pedestrian? Is it motorcyclists who split lanes on the freeway? Is it is it the person that when you put your signal on to get over, they have to speed up because there's no way you're getting in front of me in traffic? Like, there's so many different traumas. And most of the shit that we're mad about, he told me this too. And I also heard this from the video from 50 Cent, but also from my therapist. He says, most people don't know what they're mad about. And most of the time, they're not mad at you. They're mad at their day. They're mad at whatever it was that happened to them. Right? And you speaking up for yourself just happens to be the straw that broke their camel's back. Right? I also understand that people who do your traditional 9 to 5, 10 to 6, 11 to 7 type of job, that's the world that they're in. Listen, we're all on the same planet, but we all are living in different worlds. And people tend to treat you the way that they get talked to or treated, because they tend to feel this is how life is, because that's the world they live in. We have to understand, bro, I don't work at your job. I don't live where you live. I don't know what you're going through. That wasn't me. I wasn't there. I got my own battle that I'm fighting, right? This is why I'm always at my best to play devil's advocate in the conversation. I'm always at my best to not deliberately antagonize or piss anybody off, because you just don't know, right? You just don't know. That's why I'm always at my best, whatever I can, to cheer someone on. My A1 once told me, I'm everybody's cheerleader, right? And so I'm always, I don't care what idea you got, bro, to do it. Fuck it. Kill it. Do it. Slay it. Choke it. Headlock it. Make it your own. You know what I'm saying? That's because I want to see everybody win. And, you know, compete but don't compare is what I try to tell people. You know? That's me. But yeah, man, when it comes to the trauma thing, again, I think these services should definitely be offered in areas to people who suffer trauma the most. But hey, like I said, if you solve the traumatic issues in some of the poor neighborhoods, you will fuck around and reduce crime, and the legal system can't have that. Hey, it's your boy D-Cal at the E.I.T.H.R podcast. Subscribe. GNSETV.com. Free subscription. That's my TV channel. Social media. Instagram, Twitter. E.I.T.H.R. Mile Friday. What are we going to do to make it easy? We're going to start a new business. We out.
My name is Andrea Vargas, and I find something special about sharing the gallery that represents me here in Santa Fe, New Mexico, called King Galleries. And it's a special place. I'm originally from California, but we find in this gallery a way to see paintings of the Southwest, of the desert, of the land, and as well as the pottery that's made by living and breathing native Pueblo artists. So it's undeniably a place to receive inspiration and to reconnect with a legacy that belongs to all of us. It belongs to all of us as peoples of the Americas. And so there's much to share. My recent body of work is inspired by the desert with thunder clouds and thick paint. And I look forward to more people getting to share that experience and those beautiful aspects of Earth.